The All Blacks have named their team to play their old foes, the Springboks, in their Rugby World Cup opener in Tokyo on Saturday. If you're just joining us, Richie Mo'unga is back at first five, with Beauden Barrett at fullback and Ben Smith dropping to the bench. Scott Barrett will join his brother in the starting 15. He'll play lock in place of the injured Brodie Retallick. Dane Coles gets the hooker's spot, and Ryan Crotty and Anton Lienert-Brown have been retained in the midfield, as have World Cup debutantes Sevu, Reece and George Bridge on the wings. Coach Steve Hansen says Sonny Bill Williams will provide impact off the bench, and he says Crotty and Lienert-Brown have earned their starting spots, with Crotty providing a familiar face for first five Richie Mo'unga.
Ryan's come back and played really well, played outstandingly for Canterbury when he came back. He played well against Tonga. He's a leader in the group. He's got a kicking game. He's got a strong communicative game and got a good skill set base. And Albie has been the in-form midfielder for the last 6 months.
Mo'unga is back in the first five's driver's seat after missing the Tonga test with a shoulder injury. It will be his World Cup debut, the same for his Crusaders teammates Crotty and Bridge. Mo'unga started in the 16-all draw with South Africa in Wellington in July and says he can't wait for another crack at the box.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. It's a World Cup. This is the first time for all three of us, so just can't wait. It's been a long time coming, as Crotch said. This is a dream come true, something I've been wanting to do for forever.
We go live now to Joe Porter, who's standing on a train platform on his way to All Blacks training in Tokyo. Joe, this match is about as big as it gets for a pool clash, isn't it?
That's for sure. This is the biggest match as far as it gets for a pool game. The Springboks versus the All Blacks, the two-time defending world champions versus two-time winners previously. It will be an absolute cracker of a match, and it will really set the tone for this World Cup. The anticipation for this match is huge. It is the biggest match of the weekend, and it will set the tone for the rest of the tournament. Remember, no team has won the World Cup after losing a pool game. So there is a lot riding on this match, despite what many people might say.
So what do you make of the two teams, Springboks and the ABs?
Well, the Springboks are pretty much unchanged from the side that drew with the All Blacks 16-all in Wellington in July, so they're fairly confident that they can sort of reproduce that kind of performance and put the All Blacks under pressure. The All Blacks have changed the side up a little bit. They've gone for Crotty in the midfield over Sonny Bill Williams, which many people didn't expect. They've pushed Beauden Barrett back to fullback. There was some temptation to perhaps keep him at first five and Ben Smith at fullback. Hansen seems to be pretty set on using his whole squad. I don't think he's really settled on a first choice starting 15, so to speak. I think he's going to use this whole squad throughout this tournament and a sort of horses for courses type approach. It's going to be a crack of a match. The two teams are well matched up. They play a different style of game, and in wet conditions, possibly in Yokohama on Saturday night, it could be a really tense battle.
I know this is going to cause a sharp intake of breath, but what would a loss mean for us?
Look, I mean, it would send shockwaves, I guess, through All Blacks fans. Like I say, no team has won the World Cup after losing a pool game. However, when you look at the longer sort of scheme of things, it doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. The All Blacks and South Africa will be on the different sides of the draw. Whoever loses this game will still qualify second in what is quite a weak group and make it through to the quarterfinals. It could easily end up being a Springboks All Black final were that the case. What I think this game does, though, it's the perfect start for a World Cup for these teams. Often the All Blacks come to a tournament like this, they don't know quite where they are. They play some easy games first up. They never know quite how they're tracking as they head towards the quarterfinals. This time round, they know exactly where they are the very first game. And if they lose, Coach Steve Hansen and co know exactly what they need to work on and exactly what they need to improve, and they've got 3 weeks to do that before the quarterfinals. So I think a loss isn't the end of the world. A win, however, gives you the psychological edge. It sets a tone, it stamps, it puts a stamp mark on the ground and says the All Blacks are here to win this tournament. It is ours to lose. So a loss wouldn't be the end of the world, but certainly the All Blacks will want to win, and they want to win with a standout performance. It's the performance that's probably more important. They, really want to set the tone and I guess put a bit of a scare up the rest of the World Cup challengers, who some of them think have a chance this time round.
So which team do you reckon's got the most support there?
Well, I'd have to say it's Wales, the Welsh team. You won't believe it. More than 15,000 Welsh fans, not Japanese, Welsh fans, showed up to their first or second training here in Japan. It's just incredible. 15,000 people to go and watch a couple of guys kick a ball around and do very little else. The Welsh support is heavy and thick on the ground. Of course, there's plenty of English men and women around too. Lots of All Black supporters, though they pale in comparison to the Welsh. The Welsh are very well supported, but the All Blacks are getting a lot of support from the Japanese locals. 7,000 people showed up to their public event yesterday. Most of them Japanese, of course, so they are almost, like I would say, the Japanese second favourite team here at the World Cup.
So, opening ceremony tomorrow night, opening game in Tokyo. What are we expecting?
Well, the opening ceremony should be fairly interesting. The Japanese Air Force is involved, as well as lots of local artists and performers, and there'll be a light show for about an hour before the actual opening ceremony even kicks off. Now, the opening ceremony has been kept under wraps. We'll see what that pans out tomorrow night, but there's plenty of fan zones set up around Tokyo and outside Tokyo Stadium where that's happening, so it should be quite a good event. There'll be festival atmosphere, lots of local food and culture and entertainment on that walk from the closest train station to the Tokyo Stadium, so it should be a really festive atmosphere where people get to sort of soak up the sights and sounds of what makes Japan a really unique culture and a unique place to host the World Cup. The first in Asia, the first outside the traditional home nations, and it really, really is quite exciting to see what Japan can pull off. They've almost sold out all their tickets. I think 96% of tickets are sold to all matches, so they're very, very close to fulfilling their goal of having every stadium, every match completely sold out.
Thanks, Joe. Great to talk to you. That is Joe Porter, who, as we said, is standing at a train station. He's on his way to All Blacks training there. Also, earlier in the day, he spoke to some fans about how they think their team will go.
And we've got a French, South African, and we know the French are going to be dark horses.
Correct. Dark horses, unreliable.
we maybe said enigmatic.
Enigmatic. Like I said, inexperienced for the time being, but who knows? They could pull a nice trick out of the hat.
And the Boks, got to be one of the top three favourites.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alongside maybe the All Blacks in England, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely.
France fan Martin isn't terribly confident about his team's chances, but English woman Kat is. However, she thinks the defending champion All Blacks will flop in Japan.
Who do you think's the biggest rivals for the English in this title then?
South Africa.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't think the All Blacks have it this year?
No, I don't.
Why?
They haven't been as consistent as they always are.
Aussie Chris thinks the Wallabies might suffer the same fate.
They're coming off some interesting results. Obviously, they thrashed the All Blacks in Perth and then proceeded to get thrashed next week by the All Blacks again. But I reckon they'll go all right, maybe semis and then blow out somewhere.
All Blacks fans are confident and have every right to be so, but supporters like Scott are willing to spread the love.
Our hearts are always with the ABs, but we're supporting the Argentinians, the Welsh, the Namibians, and then we're going to toss up between Italy and Canada, aren't we?
And that was Joe Porter speaking with rugby fans in Tokyo.